Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please be seated. Okay, we have 4 public hearings tonight. Oh, you didn't call the roll.
Did a new roll call.
Oh, boy, you better do that.
Supervisor Reynolds,
I'm here.
Supervisor Jeffrey Trout,
Here.
Supervisor Brownell,
Here.
Supervisor Barnhart,
Here.
Supervisor Borst,
Here.
Supervisor Hayes,
Here. Nice.
Supervisor Ferrara,
Here.
Supervisor Cronenwetter,
Here.
Supervisor Reinhardt,
Here.
Supervisor Partee, here, Supervisor Heisen,
Here.
Supervisor Don Trout, Supervisor Enslow,
Here.
Supervisor Shipley.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Full house.
Thank you. Okay. Start with the public hearings. The first one is a notice of public hearing to receive comments on proposed law B of 2022 as follows. Establishment authority and duties of the Seneca County Planning Board and to repeal and replace local law number 3 of 2010.
Motion to open that meeting?
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now open for public comment. Anybody like to comment? Okay.
Motion to close that meeting?
Okay.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed. First public hearing is closed. Next one. Notice of public hearing to receive comment on the submission of a community development block grant application for program year 2020 for CDBG-CV funding. New York State Homes and Community Renewal. Seneca County is applying for up to $5 million in CDBG-CV funds to support site improvements and interior and exterior renovation of the residential units in the community building at Verona Village Apartments, located at 2276 County Road 139, Ovid, New York.
Motion to open that meeting?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Jill?
I don't really have much to add from our other discussions, but I did want to make sure that everybody was aware that we did receive 3 written comments in support of the project. Those were distributed by the clerk yesterday via an email, and in case you didn't get a chance to read them, they're on your desks. So I also wanted to let you know that Chow Pham is here from Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services in case there's any additional questions that anybody has.
Okay, any questions? Or anybody in the public want to comment?
Motion to close the meeting?
Okay. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Next up is notice of public hearing to receive comments on proposed law C of 2022 as follows. Seneca County Hotel or Motel Occupancy Tax 2022.
So moved. Second.
A second move. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now it's open to the public for comment. Open the board.
Motion to close that meeting?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That public hearing is now closed. And the last one, notice of public hearing to receive public comment on granting the county treasurer the authority in accordance with real property tax law of the state of New York, number 1182, to waive any and or all of the accrued interest and penalties on a certain parcel in the town of Waterloo, to wit, tax map number 21-3-33.2, the state of Norm Bish on Waterloo, Geneva Road.
Motion to open that meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Open. Meeting is now open for public comment. Over the board. Anybody? Yes.
Motion to close this meeting.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fourth public hearing is now closed. Next up, presentations. We don't have any presentations, I guess. Not
There's
listed.
one listed.
What?
There is one listed.
Well, that's the next line down. Petitioner. Maria Gagliano. Is she here? Got her name in the paper anyway.
Moving right along.
What?
You're moving right along.
Doing good, right? Okay, open privilege of the floor. Man, this is too easy.
Kyle,
Okay,
this is disappointing.
Well, ruins my fun a little bit, Bob.
approval of meeting minutes for May 10th regular board meeting and the May 24th special board meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next up, reports to standing committee, Supervisor Barnhart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 items in front, Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee met 2 weeks ago, and we have a number of items to consider tonight. Resolutions for each of the public hearings that we just held to pass those. And just a note that the 2022 New York State Consolidated Funding Application round is open. A discussion with the committee is requested to discuss potential projects and next steps. The application deadline is 4 p.m. on July 29th, 2022.
Okay, very good. Next up, Supervisor Reynolds, Finance, Assessment, and Insurance.
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. We only have a couple things on the agenda. We just took care of the one, was a public hearing to grant a waiver for the accrued interest and penalties on the property on Waterloo Geneva Road. And we got 2 resolutions to bring up for later tonight, and that's it.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor Reynolds. Next up, Supervisor Shipley, Indian Affairs.
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. The Indian Affairs Committee at the committee meetings of May 24th did not have any agenda topics for discussion, but Maria Stagliano from Levick Strategic Communications, LLC, a crisis management firm. I was hoping she was going to show tonight. Returned to address the board after we ran short of our allotted time at the April 26 committee meetings. She spoke on behalf of their client, Clint Halftown, as the BIA recognized representative of the Cayuga Nation. Although she could not answer numerous questions asked by Supervisor Barnhart, she said she would provide future answers. I was hoping that's what we were going to get tonight. She stated that her comments were structured to improve the community relations between Seneca County Representative and Representative Clint Halftown. I pointed out to Maria to advise Mr. Halftown to attend a future supervisors meeting and to bring with him his checkbook to pay the nearly $8 million in unpaid property and school taxes on the 73 properties he has purchased. Paying these back taxes would go a long way in improving the strained relationship between Mr. Halftown and Seneca County. And lastly, Supervisor Farrar was asked if the delinquent water bill for 2133 Lower Lake Road property owned by the Cayuga Indians was paid. Supervisor Farrar said that about half of the bill has been covered. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Next up is Supervisor Jeffrey Trout, Government Operations.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our last meeting, we had 2 issues that came before us. Oh, sorry. We'll have a resolution tonight regarding the approval of a contract with Avenue Enterprise Solutions. We also discussed at our last committee meeting not extending the remote participation to our local open meetings law. And that's it.
Okay, very good, Supervisor Trout. Next up, Supervisor Enslow, Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report other than the one resolution under the Human Services agenda tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, Supervisor Enslow. Next up, Supervisor Cronewetter, Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On May 24th, we had a report from Scott King on the new septic tank inspection program. whereas he predicted 95% of properties will pass, and if there's a failed inspection, it'll be dealt with case by case. Some of them fairly easy, and with that in mind that there's potential sewer line coming through Fayette, there's a variance board process if the owner's not happy. And the only other thing I have to mention is Soil and Water got a $9,700 grant from the Pure Waters Association to help mitigate erosion on one of the local farms. So that was a nice little touch. That's all I have.
Okay, very good, Supervisor Cronenberger. Next up, Supervisor Reinhardt, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's two items coming up for a vote tonight out of Public Safety that are in your packet. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Supervisor Reinhardt. Supervisor Don Trout, Public Works.
Thank you, Chairman. Outside of the resolutions that will follow tonight, two other items were discussed. An award for construction for Phase 3 DHS to Massa Construction for $374,000, and pump station was struck by a car in District Number 3. There was an award to Peterman Lumber for $26,750, and the district will be reimbursed by the insurance provider. That is all I have.
Okay, very good, Supervisor Trout. Thank you. Next up, Supervisor Borst, Public Health Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Health met on May 24th. Besides the list of resolutions tonight, there's nothing else. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor Borst. Supervisor Ferrara, you must have something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel Committee met on May 24th. We have two resolutions for the full board's review tonight. One looking at a planning position to hire a higher salary, and the second resolution would be to hire part-time employees at the same starting rate as full-time employees.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Supervisor Ferrara. Lastly, Supervisor Hayes, Water and Sewer Treatment Management and Operations.
Thank you, Chairman. We have nothing new to report other than we're still awaiting docs for the sewer plant upgrades, but nothing new to report, and nothing to come in front of the board.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Supervisor Hayes. Reports of Special Committee. Mr. Shipley, do you have a report?
I do. Thank you, Supervisor Eisen. This report is for the Finger Lakes Regional Airport Advisory Committee, which had their quarterly meeting on June 8th at the airport main terminal. I presented the Seneca County Board of Supervisors Resolution 153-22 adopted at the May 10th Seneca County Supervisors meeting, calling for a 1,000-foot runway addition to strengthen the airport impact on business development and support for Seneca County and the entire region. All 13 members of the Airport Advisory Committee applauded this action by the Board of Supervisors. McFarland Johnson Engineers was represented at the meeting by William Verfuss and Brent Long. They will review the Board of Supervisors' runway extension wishes and will come to a future Board of Supervisors meeting to brief this board on anticipated timeline needs to accomplish this construction project. In addition to the committee discussions, Airport Manager David Hames advised that he was contacted in early May this year by NetJets regarding clients who had students graduating from Hobart College, and they were looking for a possible place to land them. After discussing the airport runway current length, he was advised that NetJets would alter their plans and use another airport to land. Mr. Verfuss from McFarland Johnson's noted that Seneca County needs to reach out to all local businesses and others to obtain letters of need for this runway extension, which will be used to justify our runway extension to the FAA for the master plan approval process. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any comments for Mr. Shipley or anybody? Any questions? Okay, good.
I'll report one other thing. At the airport meeting, the airport manager reported that his jet fuel sales were fairly constant, and he's charging right now $8.50 a gallon for jet fuel. And he said by far and away, it's the cheapest around our area. So if we could just get more planes in there, we could make a few more dollars.
That's good. Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody else have any special committee reports?
IDA did not meet.
Okay.
Lack of agenda items.
Lack of an agenda, it's hard to believe.
Lack of an agenda item.
Oh.
There's nothing to discuss.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, next up, chairman's remarks. Today, Mitch and I went to a virtual meeting with the state of New York over the reuse of the Willard State land in Ovid or Romulus. And it was like the kickoff meeting because their states could be doing this all across the state wherever they have a closed prison. So I don't, how much we accomplished. I guess we got to meet with everybody, and they are serious about trying to get something done. They want to have a request for proposals. Mitch made it known that there's 100,000 square feet of buildings that are just falling down or have fallen down. And I think it's our goal is to get those cleaned up first. And we talked to him about the sewer system, and the lady from the Department of Corrections spoke up and said the money is on its way sometime. That's pretty fair.
Yes.
And then she spoke that your water plant has been taken over by the town of Romulus, and you're still working on getting that all straightened out. And we did miss 2 people there today too. But Mitch, you want to add anything else to it?
No, just cautiously optimistic that this effort from the state will be fruitful and will lead to real change, particularly, for Willard. As we go forward, I did ask towards the end of the call what the next steps would be. Would we be meeting regularly, virtually or otherwise? And the lead person out of Albany from Emperor State Development, I don't know if committed is the right word, but said that she would plan to make a site visit in July to Willard with us, and that we would all go together and walk the grounds and as a part of the effort. So Vinny Esposito, the regional director for Empire State Development, was on the call. I'm glad to see that he's engaged in the effort. I think, that's only good for us. At the end of the day, the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to state's full commitment. But today was a start.
Yeah. And we had Pam Helming there, Phil Palmisano was there, and Tom O'Meara was there too. And Tom said he wanted to take part in the tour when it happens, and so maybe it'll be fruitful. I hope so anyway.
Mr. Chairman, a question. With the Willard VAP facility, how much of it is lakefront, if any? Is there any lake?
A lot of it.
You might know. The actual feet of lake.
I would say probably pretty close to 2,500 feet, all prime lake frontage level.
How many acres is that? I was going to ask that.
862.
That's all?
How many, Dave?
862 acres.
Oh, 800.
800.
I thought you said 162.
No, 862 acres.
862. Well, it's a sizable chunk of land.
On the lake there, isn't it?
Yep. Prime lake frontage. They got
When
the
did they
state
want
of
to
New
get
York.
the
has most
RFPs
of
out by the end of the year?
By the end of the year, they said, yeah.
They got probably 8 or 10 different prison sites that they're trying to get back on the tax rolls.
If I remember correctly, I think it's 10.
What?
I think it's 10.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's 10.
Okay.
She's the rep for the Cayugas.
Okay. Also, before I move, I'm going to go backwards in the agenda. Also, I'd like to let you know that I've established an ad hoc committee on opioid settlement funding, and the names of the following individuals to serve on that ad hoc committee are me, Beth Partee, Mike Enslow, Margaret Morse, Sheriff Luce, Dr. Lorenzetti, Mitch Rowe, and Dave Ettman as legal advisor. So the committee will focus on utilization and allocation of settlement funds and bring recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. Does anybody have any questions on that? So, now official, so we're ready to let, oh yeah, give it.
Can I keep it?
Okay. Okay, now that I see a person has arrived, I'm going to go back to, where is it here? Petitioners, Maria Stagliano.
Hi, thank you so much. I apologize for being late. Thank you so much for having us back to speak with you on behalf of the Cayuga Nation. I know we discussed several topics last time, and we're working to get information and address your concerns to the extent possible as representatives of the official and legitimate Cayuga Nation government. We are here in the meantime to continue the open dialogue we started with you on a government-to-government basis. I'm going to address a few clarifying points tonight, but we won't have every answer readily available. I understand that you primarily want to focus on the tax issue. However, I want to make it very clear, as a sovereign government, the Cayuga Nation is under no obligation to pay taxes to any county. This is not uncommon, and it is a vital part of the relationship between other Indian nations and their local governments. It has been affirmed and reaffirmed by every court that has weighed in on it. But I'd also like to note that the nation does pay property tax on properties within its land and trust application, as well as school taxes. I want to be clear on another point of tension between the Cayuga Nation and this board. When I reference the Cayuga Nation, I'm speaking about the nation's leadership, government, and official Cayuga Nation properties. This does not apply to every Cayuga Nation member, and it is clear that there are some properties that you could collect taxes on. For example, 2133 Lake Road in Seneca Falls is a single-family home in a residential neighborhood. It appears on the county's tax records as owned by Cayuga Nation Enterprises. This name is not used by the Cayuga Nation in any way. As it currently stands, delinquent taxes total $65,372 on this property without any attempt at collection. The nation has requested time and again that the county take action against the cannabis shack illegally operated on this residential property. There's an important distinction here that must be made. A Native nation's sovereign immunity extends only to the nation itself, its officers, its employees, and its official economic enterprises. It does not protect individual nation members and give them free range to do whatever they want. Only official Cayuga Nation businesses can claim the sovereign right to sell cannabis, and only properties actually owned by the Cayuga Nation are free from local property taxes. I also have some clarification, Mr. Barnhart, on the Cayuga Nation's governance structure. As was noted last time, the Cayuga Nation does not recognize the Haudenosaunee Confederacy as a governing body, nor does the United States. There is no governing authority within the Haudenosaunee Confederacy that controls its traditional member nations today. The governance process selected by the Cayuga Nation's people in 2016 is the same process that was used by the Oneida Nation in selecting their nation's leader. In short, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy is a matter of history and does not bear any legitimate role in the governance or authority over any of the 6 nations today. The Cayuga Nation is a part of this community. Despite the challenges, lawsuits, and anti-Indian sentiment they've faced, the Cayuga Nation is an economic engine, creating jobs and business opportunities benefiting its neighbors such as yourselves. Looking beyond the historical tension and disagreement, there are many possible cooperative government-to-government business opportunities Seneca County and the Cayuga Nation could involve in. At the last meeting, a presentation on tourism discussed ways to attract additional business to the area. Obviously, more foot traffic brings increased sales, exposure, and interest to the region, which is a benefit to both Seneca County and the Cayuga Nation. With many local thriving businesses, it's clear Seneca County and its neighboring counties have so much to offer out-of-towners, as well as its residents. Similarly, the Cayuga Nation's rich history, cannabis business, and soon-to-be 2 casinos attract tourists as well. There is opportunity here to collaborate on mutually beneficial economic development. As Supervisor Ferreira said, the Cayuga Nation isn't going anywhere, whether you like it or not. At the moment, we don't know what a positive relationship would look like, and it seems nor do you. But if Seneca County wants to start a new dialogue about a mutually beneficial relationship, it requires a basic foundation of respect and acknowledgement for the Cayuga Nation's sovereign rights from this entire body before moving forward. This includes resolving several difficult questions, including, does this board recognize that the Cayuga Nation is a federally recognized sovereign Indian nation? Do you recognize the Cayuga Nation's reservation, as has been affirmed and reaffirmed by every federal and state court to take up the question? Do you recognize that any interactions with the Cayuga Nation are as co-equal sovereign governments and not on a governor-to-governed relationship? Are you willing to accept that the Cayuga Nation has no obligation to pay property taxes to the county on certain lands, as is their sovereign right and has been affirmed by the courts? These should not be difficult issues to resolve, as each has been litigated to conclusion and decided in the nation's favor. But the county's recognition of this reality is a precondition to progress between our 2 governments. As has been definitively determined by the federal and state government, the Cayuga Nation is a sovereign nation. It has a federally recognized reservation, and it is entitled to its sovereign rights. We hope that Seneca County will acknowledge the same. The Cayuga Nation will continue to pave its own path, as it has done in the past, without any cooperation or beneficial relationship with this county or others. All we're here to do is gauge if there's a potential for mutual respect, along with correcting any misinformation. My colleague Andrew and I will continue coming to these meetings to engage in productive conversations, but again, this requires this mutual respect and recognition for co-equal sovereigns. I look forward to your questions, concerns, and requests. Thank you.
You mentioned in your summary there, the building on the corner of Route 89 and Garden Street, that is going to be a casino.
Oh, the one that Mr. Ferreira had referenced last time that I just said we have another casino? Yes, I don't know if that's the exact property, but I do know that there's a second casino that's currently underway.
Well, for a convenience store, it doesn't have any windows in it. That was a good.
Oh, yeah, that's a good sign.
Paul, what's the question?
Pardon?
What's the question?
Is that going to be a casino?
Yes.
Yes. She said there's going to be another casino. I assumed that's what it was.
That is.
I wanted to clarify that.
They're in the process of changing their permits.
Is there any report or progress of what's happening to the Deer Head Inn? That's been a historical landmark for since 1923 or something, and the people on Lower Lake Road always ask, what's going on with the Deer Head?
Are they curious because they're worried it's going to get like torn down or something, or just interested in? I haven't spoken with Mr. Halftown about that in a while, but I can follow up and ask him again, because I'm curious too what we're doing with it.
My understanding, talking to BJ Radford, who I have open communication with, the Deer Head is going to be used for meetings and offices type of things, okay? Operation, a type 2 casino at the corner of Route 89 and Garden Street Extension, gas station continuing at 126 East Barrett Street. At the end of Barrett Street, East Barrett Street, that's now closed, that's to be torn down, and that will be a dispensary for cannabis, and they're in the process of developing plans for a grow station on Route Ovid Street Extension. That's about the nature of it.
A what station?
Grow cannabis, a facility to grow cannabis.
Where they have the farm now.
Pardon me?
Where they have their farm now, next
Correct.
to Woody's Lane.
Yeah, I
Correct.
think it's behind.
But the cannabis would be, this would be like a humongous greenhouse where much of the cannabis would be grown in the greenhouse as well.
I think it's a 10,000 square foot property that they're building.
Maria, thanks for coming in. I have a couple of questions, okay? It's the nation's opinion that 2133 is operating an illegal operation. And just so the record gets straight, 126 East Barrett Street is operating as an illegal operation, okay? They have not received a special use permit yet from the town of Seneca Falls. That's a process that's going on, okay? Don't get me wrong, that's a process that's going on, and it will eventually come in front of the planning and zoning boards, okay? Also, just the record straight, there's a process going on 2133 Lake Road as well, with violations cited, second violation cited, and they will have to appear in front of the town of Seneca Falls courts. So I just want to make that clear, that both properties are treated the same way.
What was the first property? What was the address? 126? Are you talking about?
126 East Barrett Street.
You're talking about the one that the nation purchased earlier this year?
Correct.
Beginning of the year? I don't think the nation is required to wait for any sort of authorization.
Well, that would be completely 100% incorrect, okay? It's zoned residential, and to continue the operation there, they will need a special use permit to do that, which they've applied for. They're in the process of applying for the special use permit.
Okay, so that one's in the process of the nation's.
So yeah. And secondly, I don't think this is the forum to negotiate peaceful relationships between the nation, the county, the town, and so forth, okay? If there's really an opportunity to sit down, then we should facilitate that opportunity. Not in this environment. Many of the people in this room would be present, but this is not the place, okay? You and I both know the nation's never going to say we're going to pay our taxes. We know that, okay? We understand that completely, okay? But we ought to be talking about contributions to municipalities for services that are being provided to the community nation. You can call it a gift, you can call it a peace offering, you don't have to call it taxes. Don't call it taxes. But make it a contribution for the services that are being provided. Their garbage gets picked up, they have water and sewer provided, their children are allowed to go to school at no cost. Services that everybody else pays for in some form. We won't use that word, it's called taxes, but they're paying for that in some way. So that would be the point of sitting down and starting an open conversation, not here, but say the word, and I'm sure Chairman of the Indian Affairs will be more than welcome to help facilitate that meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think it would be great to have some sort of sit-down meeting, not in this space, but to your point about this not being the appropriate place to talk about that, I'm just curious, what would you like to hear from us at these meetings? And then what value does it bring when Sam George and his people come up and talk? Because they're not really doing much.
These are public meetings, so the devil himself could come up and talk.
No,
okay?
no, we can
Not that I'm saying Sam George is the devil, but anybody can come up and talk. I'm saying negotiations between the nation and the county or the town of Seneca Falls should be in a forum. This is not, I'm not saying it's inappropriate, I'm just saying to get real work done, people need to roll their sleeves up and start talking.
I completely agree.
And Chairman Shipley would be the one who would be the facilitator of that, as well as the chairman would be the facilitators of that. So it's the idea of getting people to sit down in a room and talk. I have the utmost respect for the Cayuga Nation, okay? Utmost respect. I would just like the same respect in return.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well put, Mike. Well put.
Thank you.
Meet at the Deer Head.
Meet at the Deer Head. I like that.
Well, the Deer Head is a dear and near place to Supervisor.
Maria, you said something about school tax. What do you mean by that? You said that, did you say?
The 3 schools that Cayuga Nation children attend, they pay taxes on.
What do you mean they pay taxes? Can you give us more detail?
Actually, no, but I can hopefully next time. I just got this information recently, so I haven't gone through all of it in depth yet.
They send money to the school districts?
I'm not sure. I will let you know.
I think we'd like to know that.
Yeah.
And I got another question for you. When's the next election? You said it was in 2016, or is Clint Halftown elected for life?
It's not an election. It was a selection process.
Called it any election. They handed out ballots. What else would you call it?
They didn't hand out ballots. It wasn't, here are all your options for who you want to choose. It was, do you support this form of governance structure? Do you support this leader? Are you comfortable with this being the way that the Cayuga Nation operates its governance structure moving forward?
Have another election. Things change in time.
I do not think there's anything on the books. I don't know what the exact process is for when they would do that again, but I think it's only when there's a dispute. And right now there is not a legitimate dispute because the people who are disputing the leadership are the same ones who already disputed it back in 2015, 2016. So there's nothing new that would make them feel the need to reassess.
And then somebody asked me, how many families from Clinton Halftown side live in Seneca County?
That's a good question. I will find out. How many families in Seneca County or Clinton Halftown's family?
You know,
okay.
That have indirectly voted for Clinton Halftown. Or
how many people you're asking?
Benefits from the Cayuga Nation.
Okay.
This is the ones that don't get any benefits from the Cayuga Nation. Are kind of like shunned. I guess that's a pretty good word. There are a lot of families that are shunned in Seneca County, right?
Not to my knowledge that there are families who are shunned.
Well, you're trying to evict them, a lot of them.
I mean, if they're not paying and there are other people who could be paying, then, I mean, you don't call it shunning in the U.S. government if you evict somebody. If they're not paying, that's it.
Just taxes. There aren't.
No, there are people that are not paying their rent at all and squatting in houses. It's been a lot of money that the nation has been losing through that.
Mm-hmm. And here's another question somebody asked me. Does the Cayuga Indian Nation pay federal taxes for gasoline and cigarettes? I've told that the gasoline doesn't leave the station unless there's a tax paid on it. And same way with the cigarettes.
I'm pretty sure.
The Cayuga Indian pay the federal government taxes on their Cayuga cigarettes.
I'm fairly certain they're exempt from those taxes. I'm not positive. I can check and let you know, but I'm pretty sure.
When you come back the next time, let us know how much they pay in federal taxes on gasoline, cigarettes, and do they pay taxes to the federal government before a pack of cigarettes leaves their factory or they manufacture cigarettes?
I think
they're a sovereign nation. They don't pay taxes. So I want to know for sure if they're paying those taxes, which I know they are, but I like to hear it come from your mouth.
But why, if you're saying they are a sovereign nation, then why are you expecting them to pay taxes to the federal government?
Because they do.
Okay, they do pay taxes.
To know that and to resolve that once and for all.
Yeah, that seems like a point of clarification we need to make. So I'll bring that answer back too.
Okay. And when the next election is?
Selection process.
Mr. Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back, Ms. Stagliano. Pleasure to have you back. I mean that sincerely. I was hoping to hear from you via email with some of the answers, or at least, frankly, I was a little surprised to see you back. I wasn't expecting you, but welcome back. Little exercise real quick. You listed a number of questions about recognizing the sovereignty and whatnot. And just for a matter of practice, I'd like you to read those back to me, and I'd like to answer my personal response to you. So
I'd be happy to. We're also going to submit this into the record so that everyone can see it later. All right, the first one was, does this board recognize that the Cayuga Nation is a federally recognized sovereign Indian nation?
So I'll speak for myself and not the board, but yeah, I recognize the Cayuga sovereignty.
Do you recognize the Cayuga Nation's reservation as has been affirmed and reaffirmed by every federal and state court to take up the question?
Personally, I recognize the reservation, but I have a counter question for you, which is the Supreme Court case, which is failing, the name is failing me from memory right now, but Justice Ginsburg and Justice Scalia specifically pointed out the notion of latches, which was to say that the Cayuga Nation was not able to sort of reclaim, I'm using the wrong language here, forgive me for that, but was not able to assert their claim over the full reservation or the full land claim. Are you aware of that Supreme Court case and the notion of latches that basically the Cayuga Nation had waited too long to ask for it back.
I do remember reading that referenced in another court case, but I don't think I've read that one specifically.
Okay, so to be clear, my personal response is yes, I recognize that, but the United States government and us as a board doing the business of the United States government cannot possibly recognize that.
Well, I think it sounds like there's a difference between just handing over the entire land because the nation waited too long to get it, and the nation purchasing it back parcel by parcel and then reclaiming it as federally protected land for themselves, which is what Mr. Halftown's been doing.
Yes, but using the term reservation.
It is in court documents, like definitively, that it is a reservation.
Never been disestablished by Congress. I'd agree with you there. Yeah, great. Is Mr. Halftown or the Cayuga Nation's intention to purchase back every acre of the land claim?
I don't know if it's every acre or, but I would guess that. I'd have to ask for sure, but.
Okay. What's the next question you have?
All right, the third one is, do you recognize that any interactions with the Cayuga Nation are as co-equal sovereign governments and not on a governor-to-governed relationship?
I do. What's next?
Are you willing to accept that the Cayuga Nation has no obligation to pay property taxes to the county on certain lands, as is their sovereign right and has been affirmed by the courts?
I do.
Okay.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Those are the four.
All right, I want to start where I started last month, which was, does the Cayuga Nation recognize the Haudenosaunee Confederacy?
Right, so thank you. This actually got me to do a lot of research and talk a lot to them, because it is something that the nuances of are a little tricky to understand. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy obviously exists as a historic piece of the Six Nations, but there's no governance structure that's recognized there by the federal government or by these nations. They have their own governance processes.
What about by the Cayuga Nation?
The Cayuga Nation recognizes the historic relevance of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, but does not recognize it as part of their governance process.
Does the Cayuga Nation consider themselves to be a member of the Haudenosaunee?
So that's a great question. So they do consider themselves members historically, but they do not consider themselves members of some sort of living, breathing Six Nations together operating under this governance, because it doesn't exist.
So when you claimed to us last month that Mr. Halftown had the support of the clan mothers, which my understanding—
Clint has a clan mother.
When you told us last month that Mr. Halftown had the support of the clan mothers, which was his authority to be the leader, I believe was the term that you used, are the clan mothers not the governing structure of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy?
Just because they also have clan mothers doesn't mean that you can have a president in another country. You could have a governor in another area. I don't understand how that is relevant.
I'm asking if it's relevant because you told me that Halftown asserted his authority from the support of, I don't know if you said the majority, but you said of the clan mothers.
No, I wouldn't have said that in the statement I read, and I think when you were asking me about the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the governance structure, I said I'm pretty sure clan mothers are a part of it. We can email about this if you want. I think it might be a little bit tricky to bounce back and forth on this one.
Sounds like it is, yes. I'll just reference the Cayuga Nation website, which leads.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Leads with the Cayuga Nation as a member of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois, and then goes into detail about the Haudenosaunee. So to me, they're making to the average person, making a pretty strong claim that they do recognize.
They're recognizing the historic relevance, but that doesn't mean that the governance process is relevant.
Mr. Halftown, does he hail from one of these clans? Which clan is he from?
Oh, shoot, I forgot the clan. Andrew, do you remember which one? Bear, is it Bear Clan? He is a member of one. I'll have to Google it or ask him.
I mean, I could Google it.
Okay, well, which one? Do you know which one?
I don't, but that's why I'm asking you as a representative. Let's shift gears a little bit here. How would you classify the governing structure of the Cayuga Nation? I'm a student of government myself. I believe there's 8 to 10 commonly recognized types of government in the world. Can you specify what the type of government is? We know it's not a democracy. We've been through that because there are no elections. What would you call it? Give you some options here. Theocracy. I don't think there's any overarching religious beliefs, right?
No.
Oligarchy. Is there a group of wealthy folks running the show?
Can I just hear all the options first before I answer?
I'm going to have to Google it to get the full 10. The other ones I was going to run into were autocracy or dictatorship would probably be the ones that are closest to what we see from the governing model that they're using. But again, I'm being sincere when I'm asking you. I have no idea how they run the government. So just out of curiosity, as a white man with very little culture, where's it coming from? What's the philosophy behind it?
So are you referencing like the election or selection process, or are you talking about when the government's actually being run? How are they running it? How are they coming to decisions?
I'm asking for the type of government that the Cayuga Nation believes they run. I think the default, and I'm going to give you your answer, as I'm prone to do, would be some sort of unique tribal authority that I've never seen. But from the outside, I'm sort of walking you into saying it seems like an autocracy or a dictatorship because we have one leader and we don't have any knowledge about the governing structure. The people don't have any input. So
there's a whole tribal council. It's not one leader, one dictator, as you're, I think, trying to get me to say.
I mean, I am trying to walk into that. How are tribal council persons, how do they reach that position? Are they appointed? Are they elected?
I think they're selected. I'll have to circle back on that one.
Is there representation for the people?
There's representation from all of the different clan. What is it? Yeah, the different clans.
So there are 5
Turtle, bear.
members?
Is it 5? I
thought there were 3.
I mean, I've been in the room with the tribal council. It's a decent number of people in there.
Supervisor Bonner, in all due respect, I don't think it's our position to be drilling people about the form of government for a tribal Indian nation, okay? Oligarchy, aristocracy, dictatorship, democracy are not governmental terms that apply to the Cayuga Nation or any other tribal nation, okay? So let's talk, okay? Sit down and talk, not with this young lady. Talk to the Cayuga Nation, okay? And I'm going to just make one other point, okay? And it won't be a popular point in this room, but I'm a guy that likes to go with facts, okay? The business on the corner of Barrett Street, East Barrett Street Extension, and Route 89 was taken over at one point by the Traditionalists or the Unity Council. And they ran that facility for the better part of 5 years, okay? I'd like somebody to tell me where that money has gone. Millions, okay? My whole point is it's not our business. It's not our affair.
That's a fair point, and I appreciate the perspective and respect, especially coming from a history teacher. Some of this for me is personal curiosity. Some of it is when I do the research to perform this position, there are essentially 2 sides out on the internet. We've got their side and the other side, and I honestly don't know what's real.
The goal in life would be that work it out themselves, right?
I grew up far south of here, and I know you've been living here your entire life. I just don't understand the nuance and don't have the exposure that you've had for so long. So forgive me for wasting so much time, but I am really trying to learn. And I know I am putting some words in their mouths, but my point here is that this is the 2nd month in a row that you've appeared before us. I am asking you, they are getting more complicated, but I am asking you questions that certainly as the representatives of a nation coming to speak to us, you should know, and I'm making that point publicly. I'll get back to, let me get to some very direct points. They brought up the evictions. Did the nation ever sign or issue leases or contracts with these residents that are living in these houses or whatever they may be?
If I understand correctly, they had leases. The leases were up. They started bringing in other people that aren't on those leases, and they stopped paying their rent.
When did they stop paying? Did they stop paying
it was before.
Or individually?
I would say individually, but they have all stopped paying. I don't know if it was the exact same day they all decided to do it, but I think they just feel entitled to squatting there and not having to pay. I know it was before COVID. I don't remember the exact year. I've got that fact somewhere though, and I can share it with you.
I'd love to know. Thank you.
Is your email online? Because I can send you a lot of information so we can clarify some of this.
It is. And with respect to Mr. Farrar, I'll wrap this up. You said that Clint's position was reached akin to the Oneida, the same way the Oneida Nation reached theirs. Mr. Halberter was appointed for life, and that's clear on the BIA website. Was Mr. Halftown appointed for life as well?
I would guess so. I think so. I think until further notice.
Until further notice. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't have a question.
Yes.
I have a statement, though. You know, I think we originally got here because we invited Clint Halftown to come talk to us. Still haven't talked to Clint Halftown. Now we got a group that he hired showing up, talking to us. We heard from the other faction. They've come and talked to us. We've gotten nowhere. Nowhere. Except we've just wasted hours of my time, rest of other people's time. I don't think we're any closer to where we want to be, right? I think Mike had a good idea.
Yeah.
Go talk to the Indian Affairs Committee. You know, I really don't think we're getting anywhere. We're doing a lot of grandstanding, doing a lot of chest puffing, but it's really not conducive to county business. And I'm getting real tired listening to it at this point. I think some other people are too. I think if we really want to make real progress, we do what Mike said. I think that would be very progressive. You know, maybe they can get somewhere, but I don't want to listen to this anymore. I'm getting tired of it. I think some other people are too.
Okay.
I concur.
Any more questions? Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. And to be,
Thank you.
And to be fair, since I went back to you, are there any petitioners that would like to open mic? Would you like to address the board for 3 minutes? Okay. Probably gonna be your last time. Maybe.
Nah.
Skano swagwigi. Dilani gyaso, ne gayo kono dwagatten gyo ni kanyatten ni wage shouten, ne gayo kono ni wakwenzoten. My name's Dylan John. I reside of the Cayuga Nation. I'm Turtle Clan. And I have a letter here. There was a post from the Grand Council of Chiefs and Clan Mothers throughout the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. I would like here to address that we are recognized through the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. As the Cayuga member, we're the younger brother. Now, I have a letter here from the Haudenosaunee Grand Council, reiterates position on elected councils, band councils, dictatorship councils, so to speak, what we're going against now. The Grand Council of Chiefs would like to take this time to remind its citizens of the Haudenosaunee position on imposed elected band and tribal councils and our proposed remedy to standardize governance within the domain of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. From the moment elected councils were imposed in our communities, its primary intent was to abolish the strength and national character of our traditional governments and to assist in the enfranchisement and assimilation of the Haudenosaunee into the national fabric of both Canada and the United States. It has since been the position of the Haudenosaunee that elected councils imposed by either Canada or the United States exist outside of the circle wampum. No one person or nation can bring into the circle another form of government, which is what Clint Halftown is doing. Without the full express acceptance of the Grand Council, the circle wampum makes the line between traditional councils and elected councils clear and distinct. The traditional councils are the original governments of the Haudenosaunee communities, nations handling national affairs, while the elected councils are imposed systems of the Indian Act in the Canada and federal Indian law in the United States for the administration of the colonial policies in each community. Within recent years, however, these elected councils have begun commanding the distinct symbols, philosophies, and national character of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, thus misrepresenting themselves to external agencies and limiting the significance of the Haudenosaunee as original indigenous system of governance. Whether it is a reference to the two-row wampum treaties, nation-to-nation relationships, or the subtle implication that these elected councils are somehow synonymous with the Haudenosaunee Confederacy or the traditional councils. This ambiguity has now perpetrated a false impression and confusion both externally and internally that elected councils are actually a part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which they are not. Now, if Clint was a true leader, he'd be here to speak amongst Jews, but he doesn't want to show face because he knows that these questions that come ahead, he will not answer them. He don't know how to answer them. True leadership is a representation of the way you work with your nation to achieve goals as a whole for the future generations. A true leader makes an effort to develop its nation members with their inherent rights and sovereignty, with true consensus with our rightful governing body, which is our chiefs and clan mothers, and the people within the clan system. They lead by example to establish strong, trustworthy relationships amongst the people and not use power and greed to remove their own nation members from their ancestral homelands. A true leader needs to take responsibility for their actions and should lead by example for others, being accountable, which includes recognizing your own mistakes. Sharon Leroy, Clint Halftown's mother, and Halftown continuously fail to recognize their mistake of not coming to consensus with the rest of the governing body, the chiefs and clan mothers. Instead, they choose to misuse their positions and secretary and federal representative, which gave them the power to speak government to government instead of using their position correctly. And involving the chiefs and clan mothers, they broke away from the governing body and made their own council made of members chosen by Halftown, not the people within the clan system the way it was intended. So they're quasi-sovereign. That don't exist amongst Haudenosaunee Confederacy. To also add some of the questions, that also the clan mothers are a big part of our government body. If it wasn't for them, he wouldn't be in that position he's in now. He is a part of the Heron clan. That's his clan. His clan mother, Heron, told him multiple times to step down. Now, in our way, we hold our women highly because they bring life into this world. Now, what'd he do? He turned a blind eye amongst his own clan mother and said, no, I refuse to step down, all because of power and greed. That is not right. And also, I'd like to add that there is businesses here in the properties alongside Lower Lake. They are moving forward to try to move with one another and the Seneca County members, along with this legislative body here. We are trying to respectfully work as one. Now, the last time I was here, I was asked to reach out to some of these members to pay off the water bill. I was under the inclusion that they did start paying it. That is either it's all the way paid or they got a little bit left to pay, and that'll be said for.
About 50%.
About 50%.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate it.
And also, there's a permit that they're looking forward to getting into, to work together with this county. Now, this is a warning to DOI, Department of Interior, and BIA, that Clint's trying to get land into trust. He's trying to purchase all these properties and put it into the trust. If he does that, his head blows up more, and he'll use destruction and violence in Seneca County amongst his own members. There's at least 10 families with kids in these homes, and he's threatened each and one of their lives. Now, those who be held accountable should be him himself and Department of Interior and BIA, the ones that put him in his position. Our rightful governing body has asked him to step down. It's coming to the point where we're all sick and tired of being here. But we have to continue to come here to address the situation and put the truth where it stands.
Can I ask you one question? Why don't you remove him?
If we remove him, which it could possibly happen in the near future, we are going to stand behind peace, compassion, respect for the Seneca County residents, so nobody gets hurt. But obviously, he has a police force. He has mercenaries that he hires out from out of state that continually come here and they have weapons, and they use these weapons on their own people. So if we were to remove him physically, obviously there can be some violence.
There must be a system in place with the nation, the Cayuga people, to remove an unwanted leader. In the society that I live in, we have elections and we don't vote for that person, okay? So there must be something in place to remove a leader peacefully, okay? And again, you come here all the time, and I greatly respect what you're saying, okay? But I ask you every time, what do you want this board to do? We do not have the authority to remove any sovereign nation leader, whether it be Canada, Mexico, Kyrgyz Nation, Ukraine, Russia. We do not have that authority to do that, okay? You should be making these pleas to the federal government and their representatives of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Those are the people that have the authority. We do not. We didn't negotiate the Treaty of Canandaigua. The state of New York did.
Okay, yes. I just got back from Washington, D.C. We have came there. We went to the Department of Interior. We spoke with them. We had a meeting with Chuck Schumer's assistants. There is a process that we're doing, and we are getting somewhere. In the meantime, Clinton is still moving forward with his destruction and force and power and greed. So that's why we're here to address that. There is a process that we are going through, and we will see fit on how it's supposed to be done, the way it was intended, the way our Creator put here for us.
Okay, one question. Can we get that copy of your statement?
Yes.
For the minute?
I have the attorney's email. I will send him a copy.
Mr. Dillon, I asked Amanda to make a copy of your statement. So if you just give it to her, we'll have a copy of it.
Okay.
And
I can do
then-
that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, quickly, any questions? Okay, I thank you.
Yes, thank you guys for your time.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Okay, where were we?
I mean, he took the
County
words out of my
manager's
mouth.
remarks.
Following up on PDAT Committee Chairman Barnhart, the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council will be holding their first in-person public meeting since COVID hit on June the 24th at 10 a.m. at the SUNY Geneseo campus. And again, as Kyle mentioned, the CFA portal is open through 7/29, I think, at 4 p.m. But there is a public meeting that the Regional Economic Development Council is holding, and want to make everybody aware of that in case there was any interest in that. The other thing is for 2 weeks or so now, the county departments have had the Munis portal open, working on the development of 2023 budget submissions from departments with a Friday 8/5 close of business deadline. So I'll keep Mr. Reynolds and other board members apprised of that as we move through the summer. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the county manager? Okay, next up, county attorney's remarks.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, next up, communications.
Communications number 63 through 75 have been received and filed, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, resolutions. In motion. First up is the Finance Assessment Insurance Supervisor Reynolds, number 15.
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. Board of Supervisors authorizes Finance Department to pay mortgage tax.
Support. Got a second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 16.
Extend the tax rolls and bill extract files to Phelps, Clifton Springs, Romulus, Seneca Falls, South Seneca, Trumansburg, and Waterloo school districts.
Support. A second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Reynolds. Next up, Supervisor Enslow, and Human Services, number 17.
Seneca County Board of Supervisors approved 2022 Seneca County Child and Family Services Annual Plan Update for Seneca County Department of Social Services and Youth Bureau.
Support. Or second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Enslow. Number 18, Public Works, Supervisor Trout.
Authorizing engineering consultant firm Barton and LaJudas to manage Marshall Road Bridge Capital Project.
Support.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Trout. Next up, the other Supervisor Trout, Government Operations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From Government Operations, we're putting forth a resolution to approve the contract renewal with Avenue Enterprise Solutions for the purpose of scanning and imaging all land and court documents for the county clerk's office for a term of 5 years.
Support.
A second there. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Trout. Next up, Supervisor Farrar, Personnel, number 20.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Supervisors authorize hiring above start rate for the planner position in the Planning and Community Development Department effective immediately.
Support.
Second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 21.
Board of Supervisors authorize increasing salaries for all part-time positions to full-time starting salary rates effective immediately.
Support.
A second? I guess we got seconds there. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Ferrara. Next up, Public Safety, number 22, Supervisor Reinhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seneca County Board of Supervisors authorize the appointments to the Seneca County Fire Advisory Board.
Support. You got a second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Seneca
23.
Seneca County Board of Supervisors authorize a contract extension for the South Seneca Central School District School Resource Officer position.
Support. Okay, got a second there? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Reinhardt.
Thank you.
Next up, Supervisor Boris, Public Health Services.
Health Department authorized to request bids for the annual household hazardous waste collection event.
Support.
Support. Second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Number 25.
County manager authorized and directed to sign a contract with Darcy Heron to provide services for the preschool program.
Support.
Second there. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 26.
Board of Supervisors approves contract with the New York State Department of Health Bureau of Communicable Disease Control for the rabies control program.
Support.
Yes, second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 27.
County manager authorized and directed to sign a contract with the New York State Department of Health for the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant.
Support.
Second there. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 28. Jeez.
Seneca County manager authorized and directed to sign a service agreement with Kathy Bond, emergency planning consultant.
Support.
Second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 29.
County manager authorized and directed to sign a contract with Seneca County Cornell Cooperative Extension to provide a staff member to support the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant.
Support.
Second there. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, I'm on the board. I'm on the
All right. 30.
County manager authorized and directed to sign a contract with Seneca County Cornell Cooperative Extension to provide a staff member to serve as the interim project director for the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant.
Support.
Got a second there. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 31.
Supervisors dissolve Seneca County COVID response joint protocol for COVID-19 safety regulation enforcement.
Support.
A second, a lot of seconds there.
Well done.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Boris.
Thank you.
Next up, Supervisor Barnhart, Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism, number 32.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Authorized grant application to New York State Office of Community Renewal for Community Development Block Grant in support of Verona Village renovation project.
Support.
Got a second there, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 33.
Resolution to adopt Seneca County Local Law 2 of the year 2022, Establishment, Authority, and Duties of the Seneca County Planning Board, and to repeal and replace Local Law Number 3 of 2010.
Support.
Got a second there. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 34.
Resolution adopting local law 3 of 2022, the Seneca County Hotel or Motel Occupancy Tax 2022.
Support. Get a second there. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Barnhart. Next up, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay. Any new business?
Mr. Chairman, I have a piece of new business I'd like to propose. I'd like to introduce a resolution under Rule 29. The resolution title, excuse me, would be Seneca County Board of Supervisors implore Governor Hochul to deny permits and issue moratorium for Greenwich Generation cryptocurrency operations.
Yeah, second.
Support that.
Okay, well, seconds there. Now we'll just vote for the Rule 29. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wrote a letter piggybacking off of our 2020 letter to the DEC asking them to deny the permits for Greenwich Generation, the power plant that runs a cryptocurrency mining operation on the west side of Seneca Lake. The letter should be on each of your desks. It's a pretty clear ask to deny the air permits that have been expired for more than 6 months and ask the governor to sign the moratorium that was just passed by the legislature so there are no new fossil fuel cryptocurrency operations going into existence. I'll make the motion to introduce the letter.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who would like to second it?
I thought you had a different one.
I just did, Mr. Chairman.
Enslow.
Oh,
Second.
got a lot over there. Okay. Any discussion now?
Is there a moratorium already?
Yeah, so yeah, she didn't sign it, and she indicated that she may not sign it. That was coincidentally timed with the news report that she had received $140,000 in donations from cryptocurrency power plants across the state.
I wonder how much you got in crypto.
Apparently, the lieutenant governor is also being backed by a cryptocurrency-backed super PAC. So,
What she will make up her mind after the primary.
they moved the deadline to 1 week after the Democratic primary.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to point out that if any of you notice typos on the sample letter, they all have been corrected.
Thank you.
So the letter's beautiful that we're going to be sending.
Perfect letter, I've heard them say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any discussion? Paul, you got anything to say? Ought to make you happy, huh?
My signature doesn't look like that.
Not his?
Mine does.
You know, if you were a town supervisor, you'd have a stamp.
Oh, my God.
What, there are stamps? What?
Another mistake?
Cronin letter. I don't know why my stuff doesn't work. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, and more discussion. Okay. All
We
those-
vote yet?
What?
Did we vote?
Getting ready.
Trying, Mike.
All those
Trying.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Also, won't you tell, who else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a motion to enter into executive.
I wanted to say one thing. Why don't you tell them who else wrote a letter?
Yeah, so I've worked really hard. I've worked really hard on this week, and I thought it made a really good statement that this board is unanimous and bipartisan in writing this letter. So I had the stroke of thought to see if all the Republicans and Democrats in the county were united on this subject, and come to find out, I believe they are. I reached out to the county party committee chairman. That's Dave Wood for the Democrats and Tom Fox for the Republicans. And those gentlemen have agreed to issue a joint press release also echoing what we've said here and to issue a press release to oppose the permits being issued. So it was a very pleasant surprise to have that. I'm very thankful that everybody's willing to get on board to protect this lake. And I'm thankful to this board for funding the watersheds and for the septic inspection law. We're doing a lot, and I think it's time for us to call the governor out to have the state do their part. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And another point is, we know that they'll probably open the one up in Cuba Lake too, over in Dresden or Lansing, whatever it is, soon.
I used to live right next door to that, so once we're done with this, I'll jump over there and start helping them. But if she doesn't sign this bill, you're going to see dozens of these things. Every old fossil fuel plant in the state will get purchased, and we'll be, we'll be in trouble.
Bitcoin is going down, down, down.
It doesn't matter. There's a number of cryptocurrencies that are making plenty of money. And again, when you buy a power plant for pennies on the dollar and you're producing, one Bitcoin's $25,000, $30,000, and they produce
22 or 21 now.
They produce tons of these things a day. So trust me when I say they're not in trouble.
All the Bitcoin Don and I got from the landfills keep going up.
They're tanking.
It's got to be true. It was in the paper. It's got to be true.
Yeah.
I bought a giraffe with mine.
Okay, Mr. Farrar, you said something?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session, please. I move to enter into executive session pursuant to sections 105, 1E, and F of the New York State Open Meetings Law and invite the following individuals and disinvite the other individuals. All members of the Board of Supervisors, the county attorney, the county manager, the personnel officer, the sheriff, and the finance director, and disinvite Mike Farrar. No, that's just kidding. Okay, can I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, Supervisor Reinhardt made a second, I guess. He had the paper in front of him, right? Whatever. Okay, you did have the paper. Okay. Any discussion? You expect any action?
I do expect action, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor to go in executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in executive session.
Did I get it back on?
On. Camera's on, okay. Call the meeting back into order. Okay, Mr. Ferrara, you'd like to do a motion? Resolution?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a resolution here. Board of Supervisors support tentative agreement with the PBA.
Support.
Could you explain what the PBA is for the cameras?
Patrol Board Association.
Okay.
Whereas Seneca County and the deputy sheriffs are parties to a collective bargaining agreement for a term which expired on December 31st, 2021. Therefore, be it resolved, the Director of Finance is authorized to make any necessary transfers from accounts within the 2022 budget and respective 2022 Sheriff's Office budget lines regarding monetary changes in agreement. That was the short version.
Okay, we gotta do a Rule 29 on this.
We do.
Yep, so, yeah, that's your motion for the Rule 29 then?
Yes.
Support.
Second by Supervisor Croninwetter. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, you had a good time of practice, now do it again.
Sure. We have a
Title.
resolution, Board of Supervisors support tentative agreement with the PBA.
Support.
Second there. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Hey, we got some-
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Carried.
Opposed. I'll hang out with you, Mike.